Okay, can you get the sound now?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's important for all towns and communities to remember their past and to remember and find out where they came from, and how an area developed around the businesses and the landscape of the area. Certainly Sheringham, from the Domesday Book in way back in the 11th century, was an important agricultural village, farming village, and there was also a village down here nestled around some old cottages at the back, down by the sea, which you can see out here, and the beaches, etc. And the people who lived here made a living from what they could catch from the sea. And in the village itself in Upper Sheringham there were bakers, cobblers making shoes, and it was just a normal village, a normal place. Not many people came here. But then throughout the 19th century and at a time after the Industrial Revolution and the spread of the railways in particular, Sheringham was at last in 1887 joined to the National Railway Network, and the trains brought a new visitor to Sheringham. And with the number of people coming, there was a need to be a response in the building, the development of businesses, the need for houses and places for people to stay in when they came here. And so there's a gradual increase in what we call the tourist industry. There were conflicts on the beach as well, because the beach area was the fishermen's area. They had their boats, their nets, their pots, their hooks all over the place, dead fish heads from bait. But I mean, that's what it was like. It was an industrial area for fishing. But when the tourists started to come, they had a demand of wanting to use the beach for leisure activities, and for and the local people wanted to use the beach to sell deck chairs and have beach huts and things like that. Obviously coming from the 19th century, the Victorian period, when there was a need, a desire, a prudishness to cover up. There was the idea that you'd have a beach wagon which would be pulled out to the sea into the water by horses. And the ladies would get in there, get undressed, and then go down the steps straight into the sea, and once they'd had their swim they'd come straight out. There was a modesty, they didn't want to be seen. As the 20th century came around and things started to change, people became a lot more liberal and freer about doing things. And more people came to Sheringham for holidays, so there was a need for hotels, there was a need for guest houses. It was reflected in the growth of certain businesses that would attract people to the town. The people who had houses here needed to get food, shopping, etc. We had quite a few famous people come and stay here. Scott of the Antarctic, who discovered was one of the explorers who went to the South Pole. Ernest Shackleton, Winston Churchill. They all came here to Sheringham at one time or another. Ralph Vaughan Williams, the famous composer, he revised his London Symphony while staying in Sheringham. Lady Battersby was a frequent visitor to Sheringham. Now, her maiden name before she was married was de Rothschild, and she came from a very wealthy family. And her presence in North Norfolk attracted the social circle that she mixed in from London, and therefore Sheringham became part of that as well. A golf course grew, people came up here to play golf. One of the most famous members was a chap called Arthur Conan Doyle. Arthur Conan Doyle wrote, as you may know, the Sherlock Holmes books, and it is thought that the Hound of the Baskervilles which is about a big black dog with red eyes, was possibly founded on myths and legends of things that happened around here on the cliffs. He also came to play golf at Sheringham with a good friend of his from Harrow on the Hill called Moriarty. And when we had the Sherlock Holmes Society up here 25 years or so ago, we had a debate over whether or not Conan Doyle or Moriarty was the better golfer, and therefore Conan Doyle made him his arch enemy. In the Sherlock Holmes, Moriarty was Sherlock Holmes' arch enemy. There's a lot of myth, there's a lot of stories here. We try and reflect the energy of the town and the things that have happened in the past and the things that have developed into making Sheringham what it is today in the museum, which you'll see as I take you round and have a look.
So the museum is not just about the lifeboat or
No,
the fish?
no. The lifeboats and the fishermen are an important part of the museum, but the museum it has a subtitle of a museum for people and boats. And the people side is very important. It's about the social history of the area, the way in which the area grew, things that have happened around here in the past. Obviously, being a seaside town, there is a tremendous link to lifeboats and to the fishermen and the fishing community, but it's not all about that.
Okay. The museum is called Mo Museum.
No, the museum is called Sheringham Museum.
Sheringham.
No, it's called Sheringham Museum at the Mo. Now, the idea at the Mo is this piece of land here that the museum is built on. It was where originally there was a 19th century house called the Mo, which was named after the daughter of the person who lived there, a guy called Thomas Digby Piggott, and he had a daughter called Morag, thus shortened to the Mo. Okay. Excuse me.
Do you know something about the Beeston Hill?
Beeston Hill?
Yeah.
Yeah, Beeston Hill is up
It's a good view.
up that way,
Yeah.
to the east of the town. It was once more than one hill. It was once two hills. What you've now got remaining is the last half of the hill. Sheringham sort of sits in a saucer. The whole of the cliffs along this part of the coast are glacial moraine, terminal moraine. So when the Ice Age was here and the glaciers retreated, this is as far as they got. What they left behind, the deposits they left behind, were the cliffs that we have along here. And part of that was Beeston Hill. The ravines and the cuts in the cliff where the stream is because where the streams have come down. And thus the sort of the area here is lower than the hills that side. And then the other side to the west is another hill called Skelding Hill. Okay. On top of Beeston Hill during the First and Second World Wars, there was an important listening station that was in the Second World War called Y Station.
Yeah. I have saw the introduction.
Yeah.
Of the Y.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a poster about it in the Social History Gallery, which I'll show you, and you can take a photograph of.
Okay,